This is our school leadership virtual summit. We have been always holding it in Chandigarh for last many years, and this year we converted it into a virtual summit. So our academic partner, we have Let's Academy, our magazine, which is a digital learning. We have a digital partner with Adobe, and we have a learning partner with the company FlipLearn. Our associate partner is USonic, and another associate partner we have is Last Time. So welcome you all at the School Leadership Summit. Welcome all the audience who are joined in here and who are still joining in, both on Zoom and on Facebook. So this is our annual School Leadership Summit, which always used to happen in Chandigarh in a hotel. And it has been happening for 5 years now, but this year we converted into a virtual summit, and we have our eminent inaugural speakers. We have Ramanathan ji, who is the Mission Director of Atal Innovation Mission. Welcome, sir. We are honored to have you here. Namaskar. Thanks for joining. We have Amneet P. Kumar. She is the Director General of Secondary Education. Welcome, Amneet ji. Namaskar. Thanks for joining us. We have Garima Babbar. She is the Head Program for Education Sector for Adobe. Garima, thanks for joining. Welcome. And we have Anirudh Gupta, who is the CEO of DSIM Group of Schools. His camera is off right now. So he'll joining us soon. So this is a whole day program, and we are having several sessions on various aspects of the school education, and especially in these times of COVID-19, where the whole sector is going through a lot of impact and a lot of transformation. We will be discussing the challenges what schools are facing and how are we dealing with it. So I'm requesting our inaugural keynote speaker, Ramanan ji, to kindly deliver a keynote speech. You are the Mission Director for the Atal Innovation Mission, and Atal is doing a lot of initiative in schools, and your vision in these times for Atal Innovation Mission would be really helpful for all our audience who have joined us. Ramanan ji, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi ji, and good morning to all the distinguished panelists who are there today. Good morning to everybody else who's on the call. I do hope that every one of you is safe, healthy and hearty, even in this very, very difficult times. And all of you are following the COVID-19 safeguards being advocated by the government as well as by the Health Ministry. Thank you so much, Ravi ji, for bringing to focus this particular topic, and that is how do you ensure leadership of the country by focusing on the schooling system. This is very important for all of us. And I would like to just hark back to the recent speech by the Honorable Prime Minister when he announced the 20 lakh crore package for resurrecting the Indian economy as well as for bootstarting into a future period of growth and economic progress and societal good. The 5 pillars that he identified are very, very significant. The first and foremost pillar that he talked about was the demographic dividend. We are a country of 1.3 billion people. We have 1.4 million schools in our country. We have 10,500 engineering related institutions. We have 39,000 colleges. We have more than 150 million students who are going to enter the workplace. And this demographic dividend, if they don't get an opportunity to be having the latest skills, to have problem solving, innovative mindsets, to become a nation of job creators, our economy is not going to flourish. So this is a very important pillar that he focused on, and therefore education, school education, university education, or any form of education, even in the universities or the industry, becomes a very important point of focus for our country. The second pillar he identified was that of infrastructure. We have to ensure that the infrastructure across the country becomes uniform and becomes advanced. We are a country of 733 districts. So we have 115 of them still aspirational districts. We have over 600,000 villages in our country. Now, how do you ensure, and all are 1.4 million schools, universities, all spread across these 733 districts. We have only 8 tier 1 cities in our country. So we cannot say that just focus on these 8 tier 1 cities and cannot focus on the rest of the country. We need to ensure not only the most advanced of infrastructure, physical infrastructure that needs to be present in order to boost the possibilities of job creation, uniform job creation and innovation. But we also need to have digital infrastructure because digital is going to be default in the years ahead. The third pillar that he identified was that of technology, and technology is very relevant in today's context. We have advanced, affordable, accessible, and available technologies which are changing the world's landscape. We are having technologies like 3D printing, which is enabling you to conceptualize, design, and develop, manufacture products right in front of your eyes from your MSME establishment. You don't need to go to a big manufacturing plant to do this. You're having robotics technology, which is driving the next productivity and automation levels. You're having augmented virtual reality, which is enabling people to collaborate with each other, connect with each other, learn from each other, and be able to think of new ways of learning, innovation, job creation, and job enablement. You're having technologies like IoT, which is getting integrated in every aspect of human life, whether it is man, machine, or device. And these technologies, sensor technologies, are becoming a part of everything that we see. And you are having fantastic mobile, wireless, communication, internet technologies, which is enabling you to reach across to the last mile, the remotest district, the coastal district, the hilly district, the remotest village. You can access any of the content, and you are able to access the environment. So if you are creating a product in any of the remote villages, it can find a global market. Now, these technologies are changing, and this is the third pillar on which the entire country has to develop. And the fourth pillar he has talked about is the demand. We are fortunate that we are a country of 1.3 billion people. So there is demand. There are 1.4 million schools. There are more than 25 crore young students. So if you just look at the EdTech industry, the opportunity for the EdTech industry to leverage digital technology in order to give education and world-class education is very, very high. And finally, our economy has to grow uniformly across the country, which means our MSME industry, our industry which is out there in the agriculture, 44% of our country is still agri-economy based. Now, how do you convert that into vibrant centers of job creation? You have to be able to have community innovation centers across the country so that the demands of the local community, the problems of the local community. If, for example, there's a village where you don't have internet connection, how do you enable that? And if you don't have digital connectivity or physical connectivity, or you have water management problems, how are you going to enable a vibrant access to education, healthcare, telemedicine, and so on? So all of these pillars are very important. But central to this is the need for quality education and leadership in education. And therefore, this is very important. Now, when we talk of leadership in education, the Atal Innovation Mission has therefore been formed in order to drive innovation, entrepreneurship at all these levels, at the school level, university level, at the industry level, and even at the NGO level, and in every state, district, and so on. So the Atal Tinkering Labs have been launched across the country, more than 5,000 tinkering labs that enables our young children who are in the schools to get an opportunity to become problem solvers, not just rote learners. You know, rote learning has helped us. Getting good marks in a school, in a class, going to the next university, higher university, getting good marks in university, going abroad for another university, and then getting good marks and becoming a job, getting a job in an IBM or a TCS or a Wipro. That is fine. It has helped us so far. We have built $180 billion ITS industry because of our focus on rote learning. But what brought us here is not going to take us there. And especially after the COVID-19 crisis, in a post-COVID-19 world, you are going to have so many new challenges. A new world order is going to come. And this new world order can only happen if we instill in every young student a problem-solving, innovative thinking and innovative mindset. We want to become a nation of job creators. We cannot have just the existing companies who are going to be delivering the goods. And that is why the Atal Innovation Mission has been formed to create that ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship. You know, wherever Indians have gone, where such an ecosystem is available, they have excelled. You have a Sundar Pichai in heading Google, you have a Shantanu Narayan heading Adobe, or you have a Satya Nadella heading Microsoft. They have flowered and they have blossomed when you have that ecosystem, when you have that infrastructure, when you have that access to tools, technologies upon which all the solutions of the world are being built. So we are creating the same environment through the Atal Tinkering Labs. More than 10,000 schools have been identified for setting up Atal Tinkering Labs. More than 5,000 Atal Tinkering Labs are operational. And these young students from grade 6 to grade 12 are getting an opportunity to become future leaders because of the practical access to problem solving, innovative thinking, and tinkering. And then when they go to the universities, we are setting up world-class incubators so that these incubators give an opportunity for creating startups. And we have launched more than 102 incubators. More than 5,000 startups will come out of these incubators. And thirdly, we are setting up these community innovation centers across the country so that unserved, underserved regions of the country can benefit from innovation, and the students in the schools in these universities get a chance to become innovators, to become job creators. And finally, there are actually 7 stakeholders for you to be able to establish leadership in education. And I just want to touch base on that before I pass it on. The first one is the student. How do you ensure that the student becomes innovative and access to all the technologies, tools to give high quality education? The second is the teacher. The teacher has to be also equipped. They have to be carried along. They are an important stakeholder. If they don't communicate to the children the importance of not just being a rote learner, but also being a problem solver, then only this country will progress and we'll get leadership. The third stakeholder is the principal, the school management. They have to focus extraordinarily on ensuring that the children get fair access, whether it is a girl or a boy, and they recognize the talent that is there, not just the marks that are there in the exam. Many schools just emphasize, forget about everything, get good mark and go into the next class. But that is not going to help us in the future. The fourth stakeholder is the mentor. Today we are very fortunate. We have more than 10,000 mentors registered in the Atal Innovation Mission Network. Mentors fill an important gap between what the teacher knows, what the industry knows, and they help close the gap, and they bring their expertise and their capabilities into the fore. The fifth is the government. The government is very important player in this entire thing, because unless the government is participating in improving the infrastructure, in incentivizing the teacher has to feel a position of dignity. We may not be able to give high salaries, but the teacher's job is a highly dignified job. They give everything that they have to become a teacher to the student. So this is something that needs to be recognized by the local government, and they should enable the enabling infrastructure that the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned. And finally, the industry. The industry is a very important player. So I'm very happy on this call that you are having representatives from the government, from the industry, as well as from the education community, because unless all of these come together, these stakeholders come together, we will not be able to do justice to this demographic demand that we talk about. We'll not be able to do justice to these 1.4 million schools and over 25 crore young students who are aspiring to become, to change the destiny of our country and assure themselves of a great future. So with that, I will pass it on. I do hope that the deliberations during this particular webinar, and it's great that you're organizing this on the web instead of letting go of this event. And that's the change that is happening in the world. And that is something that we all should embrace and go after. Digital is going to be default. Everything by default, you will have to have a digital solution incorporated along with whatever are the physical solutions that we will need. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Ramanan-ji, excellent. You have set the context of the whole summit, and your vision about bringing up the vision in the school education system is very, very important. And you have mentioned that what has brought us here will not take us there, and that is very, very important in the context of the school education. And we have to innovate at all levels, all in the teachers, in the school, and the overall management and vision of the school itself. So, we will do a Q&A with the panel. So I am requesting you to stay on here. And And requesting our next keynote addressee, Amnit Kumarji, who is the secondary school education secretary. Amnitji, kindly give your keynote address, and you can talk especially about uh, the initiatives which your organization, your department is taking in these times of COVID, and how are you looking at the innovation? Yes, Amit, please,
Well,
yeah,
yeah. Good
yes.
morning, everybody. A very good start to the entire session by such a good keynote address by Professor Saab. And getting the view of NITI also means getting the view of our leaders and how policy making is planning to shape India's future. So, from my perspective, being an IS officer with 20 years of experience and working in sectors like health, education, women and child, because these are all social sectors very interconnected. Um, there are some key readings or maybe key notes which I would just like to flag today in the context that we are all facing these challenging times in COVID. So we all understand that across 192 countries, 90% of the schools are shut. Children are back home. This is around 1.6 billion students. They are back home. They are away from the classroom instructional methodology, and lot of e-learning efforts by private sector, by government sector have been made, but the assessment and the monitoring of the same is still an issue. My The first part that I want to speak about is that how the sector, the education sector, is going to be impacted in the long term. We do understand that the budgetary commitments by various governments towards the sector are much needed. And I'm happy to share that Haryana in its financial year budget 18-19 allocated 9.37% of the state budgetary allocations to the education sector. And in financial year 19-20, it allocated 8.37%, which is fairly high. And since education is a concurrent subject, whatever grants we get from central government and whatever contribution state government is able to make in tandem with this, plus the donor agencies like NABARD and others, they also contribute to the state budgetary allocations. With COVID and the challenges it is going to throw up to economy, it will surely mean that in the short term and the long term, there are going to be budgetary allocation. Suggestion here would be, and what we have started doing in Haryana also, is that start rationalizing quickly, because three stakeholders are involved in this. One is a central government, which allocates budget for the public schools. Secondly, the state government, which allocates budgets for the the public schools across the state boards. Thirdly, the private institutions and private schools managements, which pool in their resources to create. Fourthly, the parents who from the household incomes they spend their own budget in order to educate their child. This can be in the form of school fees or additional tuition classes or coaching classes or whatever. So all four stakeholders are going to feel the pinch, whether it is central government, state government, household incomes. We are already hearing stories in the rural areas that students are being pulled out of school and they are being encouraged to work as wage earners for the family to augment their wages because of the situation that has happened. So we all need to address the issue. This also presents an opportunity to look afresh at the sector and weed the dead wood, because the sector is almost like an elephant, I would say, and there are huge allocations which many times lie unspent. And particularly, I'm talking from government sector point of view, we need to quickly rationalize. Number one, we need to identify the sectors where prioritize, the sectors where we will need to spend more. For example, just something that comes to my mind is that the capital infrastructure expenditure, which runs into hundreds of crores for Haryana, that can be trimmed down and focus can be on e-learning. Like Ramanathan sir from NITI said that e-learning and e-outcome monitoring, both for parents, teachers, stakeholders, students, is going to be something which we need to do urgently, and it has to be of a level which will be sustainable for all future outcomes. So reorienting the budget, rationalizing the budget is very important. Second, duplication. Many times we have same arms of government and same arms of private bodies. For example, teacher learning. Different trainings are being conducted across the year for teachers. You might end up spending on 3 components, whereas you could have done spending on only 1 component. So we need to rationalize all the expenditure. We need to quickly move and orient towards e-learning, providing equity and access in data management. I would really say that this is the most important thing, because initially when lockdown happened, Haryana, we have an EduSat system where we connect through the satellite on hub and spoke model, and we provide classroom additional supplementation by recorded lectures. So suddenly we realized that if we want our children to watch YouTube channel or some network, our children have no access to phones. So I'm talking about around 27 lakh students across thousands of schools of Haryana. We have around 24,000 plus schools, both from government and private sector. So this was a huge challenge. So that means our students do not have access. The issue of access has to be resolved. And this is something which cannot be resolved by the parents alone, because I'm talking about the group which comes from very, very marginalized and socially disadvantaged, vulnerable groups, and they cannot provide access for their child. You and I might provide a laptop or a gadget or a high data internet speed to our child for an e-learning class the whole day, but a poor person cannot do that. So how do we address that issue? So data management and services, development of services which are free to air, so similarly, and where, hello?
Yes, madam. Yes. Yes, madam. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that has to be taken up quickly. I would like to say that we need to identify challenges in providing data, and maybe free data, maybe free gadgets, maybe free e-learning platforms. They need to be created at central government level so that the leverage can be provided to the entire country across private sector, government sector, whether it is northeast of India, south of India, or extreme, outreach areas. Secondly, I would like to say that we need has a good historical practice of introduction of Aadhaar card, DBT, whatever benefits we have to provide to the child. Already the scholarships, the midday meal, everything was going online. We need to strengthen that further so that even after the lockdown opens, when the children come back to schools, it's going to be a staggered approach. We all know that we will have to create a staggered approach, and there will be loss in instructional hours. All my colleagues here, eminent persons on the panel, and listeners and the participants, they are aware that NCRT and CBSE, other bodies have prescribed instructional hours, classroom instructional hours. That means 1,000 instructional hours for particular classroom. So if you're going to lose out on those many days, how will the child cover up? So the entire syllabi has to be revised accordingly so that the importance on rote learning is less, the importance given to homework is more, and the homework has to be such that it encourages child to learn more on his own, her own, and to discover more at their own level. But this should not be left unmonitored. Again, I'm saying, because whenever we see any to directly connect the student with the platform, the teacher is missing. I would like to stress here that the teacher is the sacred thread. We cannot take the child away from teachers' monitoring. You might add on whatever technology you want, you might add on whatever e-learning experience you want the child to have. But teachers monitoring one-to-one mentorship is something that a child needs all the time. So quickly we need to orient ourselves towards that. The teachers also need to be remodeled into, accepting the fact that a lot of their now teaching, their learning outcome measurement, all of it is going to happen online, and they also need to rapidly develop systems where they can, have this interaction with the students. In Haryana, we've tried this quite a bit. We've created WhatsApp groups. We've created a platform where teachers interact and check and, verify the homework done by students. But this is also something serious, and in the long term, we will have to find out better, outcomes to this, better solutions to this. Sorry. I would also like to flag that as soon as the lockdown opens and our schools reopen, we might see a fall in the NER and the GER, net enrollment ratio, the gross enrollment ratio, simply because many parents will not find it convenient to send girls or boys across to other villages to study, to the city to study, because of lack of transport, because of lack of public facilities, because of lack of movement now, and because of decline in household incomes. So this is a challenge. So that means whenever our schools reopen, particularly in the government setup, we need to provide some kind of an incentive to the students to come back to school and they feel happier about it. So this is a challenge we are still understanding, and maybe if some of you can, with your good wide experience, can suggest to us, I think this will be a good platform for me to understand that how private sector is trying to cater to this issue. And my fear for female participation in schools is lowering is very, very real, and I don't know how it is going to come about, because the social sector is the first to get adversely impacted by such situations, unless and until we create some very, very robust policy interventions. So these are few issues that were on my mind, and I think the situation provides us with an opportunity to, number one, work on big data, number two, e-learning and the technology use. Number three, we need to create a strengthened system of all stakeholders, parents, teachers, and students, so that each knows that how the new age learning is going to happen. It's not going to be that usual go to school, spend 6 hours and come back and take a test. It's not going to be like that anymore. And fourthly, in a sustainable fashion, we need to relook at our budgets so that we're able to allocate better, utilize better, and spend better. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Amitji. Very insightful talk you have given on the impact of COVID-19 on the school education, and your special comments specifically about the poor sections of the society who may have challenges in attending school after this COVID situation is over, because of the economic impact, and concerns about the health and safety are very, very important. And as you have also mentioned that massive budgets are allocated in this school education ecosystem, and there is a need to look at how these allocations are happening, and if are there any changes needed in them or not. So very important points, and we will come back to you for the Q&A session, and please stay here in the panel. And I'm requesting our next speaker, Garima Babbar, who is leading the education division at Adobe, to kindly give your address, Garima ji, on the technological aspects in the school education, and how are they getting impacted in the times of COVID. Like, what are the changes happening in the technological domain? Garima ji, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi, for inviting me to this inaugural session. And thank you, everyone, all the participants who have logged in today morning on a Sunday from pan-India, all over India, to understand what are the various strategies, how government, industry, schools are coming together to really benefit the entire education fraternity. I think Mr. Ramanan sir and Amit ma'am, they've already set the stage, where they have shared such wonderful inputs that how the learning must continue. Yes, technology plays a very, very important role. And Adobe being one of the technology leaders, we've been associated with the schools for a very long time, and education is the core essential area of focus for the entire organization. So we are getting the schools online. There are a lot of webinars that we are doing. We are giving one of our tools, Adobe Spark, absolutely free to inculcate digital literacy and creativity skills of the students, because we strongly feel that everyone has a story to tell. And this is a particular time where learning must not stop, and each student must be adapted with the right kind of tools, the right content, and so that, even if they are home, but it's all about, how they can have joyful learning, because students of today are going to be the workforce of tomorrow. They shouldn't feel that, that because of the lockdown, learning has also stopped. It has to continue. And for us, the essential pillar, as Mr. Ramnan has also outlined, it starts from, of course, students who are the beneficiaries of these initiatives. But the important aspect is, how do we ensure that the teachers are also able to upskill themselves? So we're doing a lot of professional development webinars. In fact, we've adopted a few Atal Tinkering Labs also. And, there's a calendar that we have chalked out where teachers are coming online. They are learning from our experts, education experts, and we are teaching them, we're giving them content. We have a complete repository of Adobe Education Exchange where distance learning resources are free of cost for all the teachers. So there are multiple initiatives. We are in discussion with a lot of state governments as well. And as Amit ma'am rightly pointed out, yes, this is the time where I think all of us, irrespective of wherever we are working as humankind, we have to come together with compassion, with courage, and we have to collaborate so that, we are able to benefit. Again, I would reiterate the same thing. At the end of the day, it has to, the life must go on. Learning must go on. Therefore, it's important for all of us to collaborate in this area so that we are able to benefit students at large, skilled teachers, and of course, industry is very forthcoming, and Adobe would love to collaborate with you all on all these initiatives. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Garima, for your talk about that, how Adobe is looking at this situation and positively, and you are working on improving the skills of our teachers, our educators, and that's a great effort from your organization's perspective. Thanks for doing it, and thanks for joining us, Garima. And
I can see one of the participants, they have also posted in the chat window that they have attended our professional development. Thank you so much for that. We want more and more teachers to come forward.
Excellent, excellent, great. So we have our next speaker as Anirudh Gupta. He is the CEO of DCN Group of Schools. DCN Group of Schools is one of the oldest chains of schools in Punjab. And I would request Anirudh that being a leader in this private school ecosystem, if you can talk about what is the role of the private schools in the school education system in your state and also all over the country, how important role this ecosystem is playing even for the poor section of the society or the middle class of the society. And how has that sector, the private school education ecosystem, has got impacted because of the COVID-19? We are all listening on the TV channels that campaigns around don't pay fees to schools, and that is leading to distress for teachers' salaries because the whole private education ecosystem is getting affected. So these are challenging times for everyone, parents, the school owners, the teachers, and the whole ecosystem. So if you can, since all our policy makers are here, our Niti Aayog is here, and our school education secretary is here, I would request you to talk about these issues, which are very, very important for the survival of the private school ecosystem of this country. Anirudh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi. At the outset, let me extend my gratitude to the entire ELETS team, and especially to Ravi ji for creating and organizing this summit, which was really required. And thank you, Ramananji, Garima, and Amneet ji, for sharing your wonderful insights. I'll be sharing my thoughts on how education can become growth engine to boost the economy. These are the challenging times. We are in middle of a unprecedented situation. I mean, the humanity had never witnessed anything of this sort before, and as we all know, more than 1.4 billion students all over the world in as many as 198 countries have been impacted by this global lockdown. And while all other segments from manufacturing to aviation to tourism to hospitality to automobile, everybody has been adversely impacted by this corona virus. So as the education sector, we have almost 1.25 million schools in India, and out of which 25% schools are private independent schools, which cater to almost 40% of the student population in India. So while the entire world is going through this unprecedented tyranny, like how do we reinvent, how do we re-strategize? We've been talking about skills. Mr. Ramanan spoke about Atal Tinkering Labs and AIM, which actually is doing phenomenal work. Most of the schools are running ATLs, and I must compliment the entire team of AIM. Not only in schools, they are running incubation centers in colleges, and I think if something in the recent times, if somebody asked me as what has good has happened to the school education, I think AIM is one of the things. So when we look today at the world arena, there is a direct correlation between development and the quality of education, as well as the society's temperament. Like, I often wonder how a small country like UK ruled almost 80 countries worldwide. More than 80 countries were British colonies. The UK, which is of the size of Uttar Pradesh. Why? Because of the education, because of Oxford, because of Cambridge. As per, I was going through OECD report, and I like to, give you an example of Swiss system of education here, where vocational education, plays a major role. And Swiss quality, as we all know, is one of the best in the world, whether it's watches or pharma, industry, hospitality, cheese and chocolates, the list will go on. So how did that small country achieve all this? Even when the neighboring larger economies like France and Italy could not do it. So the secret is the strong technical and skill education sector. More than 65% of Swiss students are enrolled in pre-vocational and vocational programs at upper secondary level, compared with an average of 44% in other OECD countries. And among those who choose vocational programs, about 93% of them are enrolled in joint vocational programs combining school and work-based industry elements. And that is what we need to do in India. In vocational education at upper secondary level, majority of students graduate from upper secondary programs designed to provide access to academic tertiary education. Talking about Switzerland, more young people graduate from upper secondary education that leads to a tertiary type vocational program. Like in Punjab, being a hub of several large industrial and manufacturing units, it's high time for us to design a comprehensive strategy. I think, we won't get this time, again. By realizing the importance of the role of secondary and post-secondary education in our economic development. I, in fact, 2 days back gave a presentation to the Chief Minister also that, how education can help revive the industry. We need to create a competent, environment. We need to get rid of self-interest, tightening the red tape. We need to create a competent, skilled, disciplined workforce, which will be employable in the industry without needing any investment for the future training. In times to come, the industry will not be offering job based on your certificates or qualification or percentage. The industry will be offering you jobs based on your skills. And that has to start right from the school level. One positive thing, that we've noticed during the Corona period is while the whole world, perhaps for the first time in the history, listening to the scientists, we are expecting some miracle taking place, followed by some sort of, scientific practices which we are following. Everybody is doing that in our day-to-day life. So this is quite unprecedented. We must make use of this momentum to transform an otherwise less scientific society into a society of high scientific temperament. And this is what ATL is doing. This also has to start at school level. So I strongly recommend, based on the Swiss and Finnish model, that let's start, like CBSE has already introduced a lot of skill courses from grade 9th onwards. So let's do it. Not only, take it as any other subject, let the students gain a temperament, a knack for those skill subjects. As any other roadblocks in the history of humankind have opened multiple avenues, this current situation too should make us get ready for the future. Like, we all know there was sudden lockdown imposed. Some schools were ready, some were not. Some were able to switch over to the virtual mode overnight. Some were seen struggling. And this entire segment, brought the entire digital divide to the fore. So while, we were, caught on the wrong foot, let's ensure that we are able to utilize this time and prepare for the future as and when the schools reopen, draw short-term and long-term strategies. So here I'll also like to discuss the changes, we need to bring to revitalize the economy. So we are talking about, the image maker of ITIs. We are talking about setting up ancillary units in our engineering college and polytechnics. There has to be the journey of a child from school to a technical education or a medical education or a higher education. It has to be a seamless journey. It cannot be abrupt. And another thing, what I strongly advocate here is, like, ma'am is sitting from Government of Haryana. We have various departments like school education, higher education, technical education, medical education. We have, agriculture ministry. We have science and technology ministry. So all these ministries, we need to constitute an integrated task force along with people from academia and industry, so that the skills of the students, coming out from schools, colleges, universities, they are aligned to the need of the industry. I mean, there is no point of imparting education, when the students remain unemployed. So, so the days of learning at school and doing the job lifelong are gone. We need to change. We need to evolve. I often tell all the teachers that, if you are teaching the way you taught them yesterday, you will be robbing the students of their tomorrow. So we need to change. Everyone today needs to keep abreast of changes, technological and otherwise, on a daily basis. Some of the teachers, we have seen, like, they had never come online. They have never taught any student or, go live in front of the camera, but they're all doing it now. They have strayed away all their inhibitions. So this is the kind of change what is required. And as we all know, most occupations are undergoing a fundamental transformation. While some of the jobs are threatened, like others are growing rapidly. The students who are studying in school today, we even do not know what kind of jobs they'll be landing themselves into tomorrow. Even businesses, as I said, the complexion of the entire business is going to change. We don't have that brick and mortar kind of a business now. At a very, very young age, the students are aspiring to set up, startups. And various governments like Punjab government and even the union government, they have set up a separate seed money for the same. So we all, as educational leaders, organizations like Digital Learning, people from NITI Aayog, AIM, the policy makers, we all need to sit together and we all need to, understand that what is the need of the hour. The schools need to educate students for the future, where they'll be working in teams that will assemble and disband quickly. Instead of job levels and titles, they will have assignment, task, and expert roles. new organizations, new culture, new models will be example. Citizenship, collective thinking, shared values. So, I mean, the skills needed
Volume
for
is not
future workplaces. I'll just wrap it up, Ravi, in 1 minute. Like, complex problem solving, critical thinking,
if I can't.
coordination. So, I think that is what we need to do. So I'm very happy that organizations like Adobe, ATL, have come forward, and digital learning is playing a very, very important role. So the idea is entire vocationalization of education, the skilling of students. And this is the best time to think about it. This best time to reinvent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anirudhji, and you have highlighted very important points regarding how the school has to reinvent as a system. And you talked about England, UK as an example, that UK has ruled the world, being a very small country. It's all about education.
Yes.
So we have heard all our keynote speakers in the morning, and I'm going to request each of our speakers to comment and conclude. And I will start with Ramnanji. Sir, you have heard the perspective of the state government, you have heard the perspective of industry, you have heard the perspective of the school ecosystem from Anirudhji. And I think you have seen a lot of comments and questions on the your screen also. And there are like several feedbacks ranging from various issues. Like I can't ask you any specific question at this moment, but asking you like that the main crux of all the speakers is that school ecosystem has to reinvent itself, and it has to this applies for both the school education in the government school and the private schools, both. And how you think, what are the policy interventions required at the central level, state level, and I will even go to the district or DM level. Like just yesterday I was moderating a panel, and one of the senior IAS officers told that this government is run either by the PM or by the CM or by the DM. Right. So they are only. So requesting you that Ramnanji to talk about that how what are the steps needed at each level for reinventing the school education system. Yeah.
So thank you, Ravi, and it was amazing to hear all the speakers. I think everyone brought some very unique points of view, and the importance of a very holistic approach to education. First of all, we need to have a very holistic approach if we want our education system to succeed. The beauty of India is, and that has been evident so many times, is that extraordinary talent comes from the most remote of places in our country. It is not that it is the metros which is generating this extraordinary talent. You have an Abdul Kalam coming from Rameshwaram. You have a Ramanujan coming from Kumbakonam. You have a Jagdish Chandra Bose coming from West Bengal. You have Sir C.V. Raman coming from Tiruchirappalli. I mean, these are all remote, small districts, but some of the best talent. And even a Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, if you look at their background, they have come from various nooks and corners of the country. So the important thing is talent exists everywhere. How do you provide the opportunity for that talent through quality education to be able to blossom fully? That is the key, right? And therefore the points of view of various people, like for example, the role of, I forgot to mention, and somebody pointed it out. In fact, I've answered quite a few questions online. Somebody pointed out, you forgot the role of the parent, and that is very key. In fact, I had mentioned 7 stakeholders and I only mentioned 6 of them. The 7th one was the parent, which is a very important stakeholder, because if in a student's life there are 2 people who constantly interact. During in the evening at home, it is a parent, and the daytime it is a teacher where they go to the school. And so the parent plays a very important role in encouraging the students and in engaging with their child to see the potential. that is very important, and therefore the schools have to facilitate this detection of potential and sharing of potential in a child with the parent, so that the parent can encourage them in their journey. The role of corporates is so important, and that was beautifully brought out by Garima ji, that you need corporates to participate in this school revolution. You cannot imagine industry saying, hey, the school system should produce great students for us when they are not participating actively. And therefore, this adoption of tinkering labs, the mentoring part, the co-investment of corporates in enabling and enhancing the school infrastructure as well as the digital infrastructure. Amneet ji brought out the importance of mentorship as much as teacher training. And that is very important, because we are today a country of more than 250 million middle class, rising middle class economy. And all of these people who have risen have had the benefit of education. It is impossible to find somebody who has had a good education not succeeding in life and not bettering the lives of their family. So mentorship is the way of giving back. Whatever you have learned and gained over the years, India needs great mentors, and that should be incentivization of the mentors. And Anirudh ji brought out very nicely the importance of technical skills. Germany, whether you're a technical institute person or whether you are from the academics, both are given the same level of recognition by society, not only by the jobs that they can have, but also the salary structures and so on and so forth. Somewhere in India, we have not focused on the technical institutes, and the technical institutes are key for an economy like India. So I think these unique points of view, I go back to the 7 stakeholders: the school, the teacher, the principal, the parent, the local government, the mentors, as well as the industry. All of these people have to play a very important role in the boosting of our education. And I think we are poised because of COVID-19. This has starkly brought out the importance of digital information systems. You're going to see digital education take to a completely unprecedented level. You're going to have online training programs. You're going to have collaborative training programs. You can have 3D designs of anything that you're studying. You can have augmented virtual reality, enabling you in biology, in chemistry, in maths to understand very difficult concepts and be able to visualize it. See, nothing is better than visualization. And with the industry, the school should partner very actively and have outreaches. Just like we are partnering with Adobe for digital and creativity skills, we are partnering with Dell Technologies on gaming development, we are partnering with the NASCOM industry for AI development. It is not possible for the school system and the MHRD and all of them to come with all practical needs that the industry needs. And therefore, this active participation and collaboration with corporates is very important. And I think by strong emphasis on education, education which is job enabling, not education which is just academic in nature, education which is job enabling, which is creating more research capability, more innovation capability, and providing a higher level of ecosystem for potential entrepreneurs and startups. That will be the key for the growth of our nation.
Sure. Great points. And do we have our other panelists right now in the session? Anirudh, Garima, and Amneet ji. Are they around? I can see the camera is off, so I can ask.
Yes, Ravi, we are all here.
Yes. So Garima asked Amneet ji, you are I want to ask you that there are many of the people who are writing in the chat and Q&A. So, Amneet ji, one of the important question is that what are the state level policy interventions urgently required to revitalize and re-energize our school education ecosystem? Your comments and suggestions, Amneet ji, your views on this. You are on mute, Amneet ji. Mute par hai.
Okay,
Yes.
can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Rajiv ji. We've had a very fruitful discussion, and few points which I would like to make from a policymaker's point of view are: number one, we all understand we will have to change quickly. Number two, we will all have to make efforts in order to reorient the budgetary allocations in a manner where we need to create newer platforms for e-learning for students, for online assessments for students, for teacher trainings, and for monitoring closely all the various schemes and the programs that are being set up, and private school systems and the managements which were relying heavily on infrastructure building and other interventions, they have to, and we have to together focus on quality of education. I'm stressing it again, employability also to a large extent, but quality of education, because now we are expecting a 6-year-old, a 8-year-old to be so dedicated to go back home, to watch 3 hours of online classes, not ask too many questions, have interruptions of switch on, switch off mic, and still understand the concepts as is where is basis or as taught in the textbook. So right from the syllabi creation to the pedagogy, to the methodology of teaching, everything has to undergo change. And I would request, since there are a lot of stakeholders on this platform who are also content creators, who are also influencers, and particularly sir from NEETI also, there is a need to relook at the syllabi in a manner that it is no longer textbook oriented and it becomes e-learning and self-learning. I would again say not just e-learning, self-learning. I or you might not like to have your child sitting 6 hours in front of the screen. We would not like to, but we would definitely like for the child to have a set of 5 to 6 books where he can go through and learn and interact and use IT as a tool. IT is only a tool. It has to be utilized properly for enhancement. Another point, very important point I want to make is we cannot leave the underprivileged behind. The private schools are catering to an audience where the payment ratio is high, but still a lot of private sector schools also cater to a very middle class population, lower middle class population. So we need to ensure that equity is maintained. Girls and boys have equal access to school. They have equal access to facilities. If there is a girl child, she should have equal access to the gadgets available, to the data available, so that her learning is also augmented. And another and the final point is parents need to be motivated and brought into the system just like teachers. They are your biggest stakeholders. If they are not on board, whatever you create will not be used by the child. Whatever good your system is, the child will not be able to learn 100% from the system because the parents and the teachers are not motivated enough, not keen enough to really utilize that system. System is only as good as the person uses it to be. Have high hopes of achieving the sustaining vocational courses. I'm happy to share with Mr. Gupta that Haryana is one of the states trade skills in 50% of the government senior secondary schools. So we are already on the path, but I think we need to work a little faster and quicker, and we need to have better outcomes in shorter time span. Thank you.
Thank you, Amnitji, and especially you have talked about highlighting that we have been investing on the physical infrastructure in schools in a big way until now. There are requirements of acres of land for opening of schools, but another requirement is needed to look at the improving the digital infrastructure of schools, which is very, very critical, both in terms of hardware and in terms of software, and also in terms of teacher capacity building, and also of the involving the parent in the whole the engagement in this education system. So we are running short of time, so we will end in our next 5 minutes. Our next session speakers are joining in, requesting Garima and Anirudh to please talk about, Garima, that how will the role of industry evolve in these situations in terms of revitalizing schools? Garima.
Yeah. So I'll just carry forward, I'll echo what Amneet ji has already shared, because now is the time that we have to shift from a physical infrastructure to a digital infrastructure. But at the same time, if there are investments which are happening, it has to be in the right benefit. Again, how are we enabling teachers? Because teachers are pretty much used to teaching from a textbook. Students are used to looking at teachers, or okay, we used to have smart boards and whatever, but now we need to shift. We need to channelize whatever we were doing to enable the students to learn the best of what is available. So as a key action point, and my suggestion, would be that what are the tools, how are you enabling teachers who can be content creators? Because it is not possible, for all of us. In fact, we are all getting tired, sitting in front of the screen the entire day. And by working from home, learning from home is definitely enjoyable. But at the same time, we have to look at the quality also of that, rather than the number of hours that we are spending in front of the screen. So my strong suggestion would be, if teachers could be provided with content creation tools in which if they are creating a content that is applicable to multiple schools all across the state or all across India, so that if a bio teacher creates a content that is relevant for all the students, across, and that takes the burden away from all the teachers, and they can collaborate better in terms of learning and development. My second suggestion would be that if students are coming online, how are we measuring and monitoring the quality in terms of the learning outcome? I think that is essential. When we do a lot of professional development webinars, we also ensure that we spend about half an hour, 45 minutes on certain tips and tricks for the teachers, in which if the students are online, how can they measure that what are the modules, what are the topics which the students have covered, so that there is project-based learning, there is joyful learning, and they're able to share whatever they have learned in the form of projects, and teachers can assess them properly. So I think with these two suggestions, I have another presentation at 3 p.m. today where I'm going to do a deep dive session on what are the key initiatives we are doing. If schools are interested, please come forward, write into us. We will be more than happy to assist you. Thank you.
Sure. Excellent, Garima. Thank you for the.
So I just want to make a point.
Sure.
That going to school is a complete experience, because school has an ecosystem where there is peer learning, where there is teacher learning, where there is interaction between seniors and juniors. So with this lockdown happening and students just sitting at home and being away from their peer group, that peer group learning is missing. So half of your achievement motivation that comes from competitiveness, from, competing against one team with other, one class with another, one section bettering the other in debates, all that is being taken away from students, and we will have to find new methodologies. I'm again stressing, because being an IS officer, I skipped from one department to another, and you are all educators and you always will be. You have to find out new pedagogy, derive methodology to have a better peer interaction, to have a better energy transfer from students whenever they are back in schools. They are away from schools for too long, and we don't know what this is going to lead to, because social skills is something which every child needs to develop. It is much more, more than just the learning bit. Learning you can do from textbooks, you can do from the digital material, but peer learning is something which cannot be taught. It happens on its own. So my request to all of you, whenever you create the content, there should be focus on peer learning as well.
Amneet ji, thanks for the highlighting this concept of the peer learning. And Anirudh ji, your last concluding remarks. You have 2 minutes to complete this session, please.
Ravi, even as and when the institutions, they limp back to normalcy, yesterday MHA had issued certain guidelines, and we are hoping that maybe by July or August the schools will reopen. So whenever the schools, colleges will reopen, we will not be able to deliver the education the way we have been doing before. As we are all saying, it's going to be a new normal. Everything from academics to activities to infrastructure and an entire gamut of things, are likely to undergo a paradigm shift. There'll be a total metamorphosis, which will entail new digital platforms, pedagogies, and perceptions. This pandemic has already transformed our century-years-old chalk and talk model into one driven by technology, as Garima rightly said. So this disruption in delivery of education is also pushing, like Amnitji mentioned, policymakers to figure out how to drive engagement at that scale and tackle the digital divide. So what I'll say that we need to adopt a multi-pronged strategy to manage the crisis and build a resilient Indian education system, which should also include learning solutions for our most vulnerable and marginalized segment. So I think we all need to, like from school to school, college to college, we all need to re-strategize and see that, like while switching for not only from classroom chalk and talk to digital platform, how to do it most effectively. And I like to use this occasion to thank all the teachers, who within no time, they have done wonderful work, had the teachers not, switched over to virtual mode and, ensured that learning continues unabated, I mean, these times would have been much more tougher. So thank you. I'd like to, thank all the teachers and all the educationists from this platform today who have done such an amazing work. And thank you, Ravi. And I think we all need to re-strategize, re-innovate, reinvent, and this is the best time to do it.
Excellent. Thank you, Anirudh. A very important point that you highlighted for thanking the teachers, which are the core pillars of our school education ecosystem. And I would like to thank our eminent speakers, Ramlanji. Thank you for joining us. We are really honored to have you here. Amnitji, thanks for joining. Garimaji, thanks for joining us. And Anirudhji, thanks for excellent concluding remarks. And we will end the inaugural session here. And we are going to start our next session now. So thank you all the inaugural speakers and requesting all the attendees to stay back. We are starting our next session. Welcome. Thank you.